Good morning. Something I wanted to just do a little tiny video about was how we can trust that we have the answers that we need, that we might be looking for, or we have the strength, or we have the courage, or we have whatever we need to become the highest versions of ourselves. And I don't want to use language that people don't understand. Basically, that's your potential, your highest potential already exists. It's almost like your life has already been written and you've got amnesia and you're going through the process of being born and going through this life. But there you have key purpose and giftings within you already, and all your potential is all set. It's all there, everything you need, all the tools. And we can freak out, can't we? Because we only see in 3D, we only see like very physical, and we can't always, we're not 100% assured that everything's going to be okay, and the things that we desire are going to turn out correctly, or we might think that we haven't got the strength or the time or the ability. And sometimes it can be trial and error to get us on the right path, yes, and so that can give us a little bit of doubt. But ultimately, everything works for us, and the reason that we go through life and the things that we've experienced, negative or positive, are to keep us on the right track and to get us to a place of understanding our purpose and understanding why we're here and understanding who we are and how we connect to the world. So if you're struggling, this might be for you, in the sense that we all have, I believe, some form of kind of psychic or prophetic ability of knowing what the future is, or knowing how to access wisdom and guidance and knowledge as to how to walk on our highest path, or how to get to where we need or desire to get to, whilst also, importantly, enjoying where we are in the present moment. There's no point just thinking, oh, I want to get there, because then what? Your life's over and it's finished. It's not a constant striving to become better and better. It's a balance between the two. You've got to have a desire to keep moving, but at the same time, enjoy where you are, and appreciate what you've got where you are, because those days don't last forever either. And it is a balance between those two schools of thought. But if you're sat there thinking, well, I'm not spiritual, I don't get visions, I don't have insight, that's certainly not something that I could access, I would beg to differ, because I think we all have the ability to have an inner knowing, and we are all spiritual, we are all souls, and if you seek, you will find. So I am just encouraging you to seek in some way. My key tip, if you feel like you need to tap into your inner knowing, is to start meditation. A meditation practice for me is key. Like, that is where I get all of my visions. Well, not all of them, I can have them just randomly pop up. But generally, though, when I stop and I take time to breathe and ask, for wisdom, I will get a vision, or I will go into meditation and I will see things, often very symbolic. That's the other thing. It's not always literal, it's often very symbolic. So I will see like stones that represent something, or I might see a bird in flight, and where it lands might be significant. But you kind of have an inner knowing, and you get used to decoding the symbolism behind the dreams. And sometimes it doesn't make sense until later on, particularly if you're not meant to know. Like, you might have a feeling of, oh, it's going to be okay because I saw this situation in my vision, and then it turns out actually, no, it meant this, but it had a meaning in your present moment, and then it made more sense and unraveled at a future date. But it will always have some kind of guidance or help. So for example, when I was going through one of the roughest times, and I was really sad, and I literally wasn't eating, sleeping, I just knew that I had to start this meditation practice, that it would be my saving grace. And I got up daily, and I would refer to a little book called The Secret, and it was a daily quote, and it was about just trusting that the universe has your back and that you're going to be okay. But I was in a really dark sad, lonely place. And this became my catalyst for making meditation part of my daily practice. And I would get up and I would just spend 5-10 minutes with my eyes shut or listening to music and just asking for help from above. And I remember this one time I was sitting there, legs crossed, lonely with my cup of coffee, and I was like, universe, I need some wisdom. And I closed my eyes and I instantly saw this woman who was wearing like wolf fur on her back, and she had this crown and this scepter, and she just looked so assured in herself, and she knew exactly what she was, you know, she just had this aura about her that felt like she knew what she was there for and who she was. And she had this wolf next to her, and I knew instantly she was the High Priestess, and I recognized her from one of my cards, that the High Priestess has this wolf companion. And I sort of was asking her for wisdom, and so she gave me a few kind of like verbal cues of what I was going to do and things would be okay. Fast forward a few years, I realize now that she was me. And that was the irony, that I was asking my higher self, a version of me that I didn't know existed yet. I didn't know I had that strength. I didn't know I had that intuition. The High Priestess is all about trusting your intuition and your visions. And, you know, now I regularly see myself as her in visions with a wolf companion, which is just, you know, your wisdom and knowing. But at the time, I was a shadow of being anywhere near that. I didn't trust my intuition. I just literally, I'd gone on one thing, which was just had changed my life for everything. Like, it was completely new and scary. But as time developed, I realized, oh, I was actually referring to a future version of myself. And that's how it can work sometimes, that we don't always understand what we're seeing. And you don't always believe it. Sometimes I used to have certain pictures of me doing things, and I was like, I can't see that happening. But actually, quite a lot of those things have come to pass. Also, trust your natural magnet, what you're naturally magnetized towards. You might not have any kind of real logical reason why you are drawn towards that thing. In fact, it might go against all logic. But trust, if you're being magnetized towards something, then that is also another cue. For years, I just have this, I was drawn to yoga, and I was like, oh, I should try a class. It was at the point in my life where yoga was considered evil, believe it or not. And so I was, it went against my mental, what was right and what was wrong. But, if I hadn't gone towards doing yoga, then I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And it just felt right. It just clicked. I had no reason, just a desire. So sometimes just a little, I call them breadcrumbs. They're like breadcrumbs along your path. They're just something that you're drawn to, or you just naturally want to have a taste of or try your hand at. They can often be the biggest changes without you realizing it at the time, and can kind of steer your entire path. So trust your desires and your instincts. Sometimes it's hard to tune into instincts because we have so much ego fear and so much logic. We're like, well, that couldn't work because A, Y, B, X, Y, Z. But the more we learn to trust that inner little voice and where we're naturally drawn and the desires that we have, then you can kind of clear the path of all the ego fears and all the worries and all the logical reasons why you shouldn't be doing that certain thing. So meditate. Trust that you do know, you do have the answers, and go with your desires. And slowly things will unravel. You will make mistakes, but slowly things will unravel, and you will realize you have the answers within more than you realize.